We stand together, united as one. Forward on we go, facing friend and foe. We will know what it is.
What's up, Lee?
We have not time for that. If we make mistakes, we are lost.
Let me check. Now I got the chat for you.
We are lost.
There you go. Alright, I see you. Oh, we're good. You got good video and everything, so we're good. And your audio is good too, so we're good.
We are lost.
Let's see here. You doing good today? What's this up? I got the title card going. Yeah, I mean, I've been following the stuff in the legislature. We'll talk more about it, but yeah, I haven't like details and stuff. You might need to like bring me up to speed if you know. So we'll be like going back and forth in regard to what we do know.
We are lost.
I watched the. We'll talk about it in the show because otherwise it'll be like redundant. But yeah, so we're gonna go over the other 14 points, and I mean not all 14, but like the last 4 points or whatever, and I'm gonna try to tie it back in however we can, you know, to the legislature debacle and what's going on in the state of NC.
We are lost.
Basic. Yeah. Yep. Hail Mary, fascist pass.
We are lost.
I'm gonna share this to the Fight Club deal here and see what happens.
We stand together, united as one. Forward on we go, facing friend and foe. We will know what it is. We have not time for that. If we make mistakes, we are lost.
Where is the... Okay, let's see, where are the videos? Here we go.
If I say goodbye, then make me a lie, make me a lie. My heart's heating up, this love is on fire, love is on fire. If I say goodbye, then make me a lie, make me a lie.
Yeah, we may be swamped by a bunch of these I'm gonna share it to a couple of different pages. Exactly. Agreed. Yeah, that's definitely some bad publicity. See if we can lure some trolls in here.
If I say goodbye, then make me a lie. If I say goodbye, then make me a lie. If I say goodbye, then make me a lie, make me a lie.
The thing is, I highly doubt any of them are ever going to fucking show up. Like, they barely ever show up because of the fact, like, it's fine as long as they're able to talk shit from, like, you know, behind fake profiles and images. But you rarely ever catch them. I've never run into any of them in, like, real life. I've never run into any of them where I'm like, let's have a dialogue and we talk. The closest thing I've had to that is George. That's the closest thing I've had to that. Everybody else is just like, you know, behind some bullshit. So I'm kind of curious. I'm waiting for the day. What I envision is when they do finally come, they'll come into the chat. I envision we'll probably be ambushing the chat, and they'll, you know, be dropping, you know, just bullshit memes and shit. But I don't envision anyone will ever come online and, like, talk to us. That would be great. If we could do that, I would love that. That would be awesome. I wouldn't mind that being a recurring thing. But yeah, I don't think they're going to do it. Basically. We got 2 minutes. 2 minutes out. I'm looking for the brave. I need a brave fascist. Can I get a brave fascist? That's what I'm saying. It's like you Exactly. What in the hell? I got Rebecca's post up. She should be whenever she watches, she should be pretty happy that she got included. I'm trying to feature members of the front and stuff that they post. I don't mind. I wouldn't even mind, like, featuring a fascist post or two, and then we could have a discussion about it, and that'd be great. We could have, like, I just want to have a dialogue, but I can't find any fascists who are willing to be like, I'm going to go on camera and talk about how bigoted and racist and whatnot I am. If that could happen just one time. That would be great. That.
Just a simple thought. Who am I to you if I'm known to myself? What am I to you if I'm hollow? Who am I to you if I'm known? If I'm known?
Oh wow. So we have a very, very deeply seated clan. That's them. Alright, I'm going to start the intro. It's 7 o'clock. Here we go. Alright. We are live now. We've got Lee in the background here, so I'm gonna go right on over. Talk to me, Lee. Can you? I want to make sure I got your audio levels up. Okay, all right, I hear you. I'm not hearing you. Hold 1 second here. I'm not hearing you. There you go. Okay. I think we're good. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're good. Gotcha. There you go. Okay. I think we're good. Can you hear me now? Pretty sure we're good. I'm testing the feed over here too, so I can hear you. Can you hear me now? Yeah, I'm not hearing you in the feed. Hold on 1 second. Let me see something here. 'Cause I have all my audio switches. I'll get this working right. People, bear with me. They hear me. They can't hear you. So it's just a matter of me getting this routing fixed. And yeah, I mean, talking to myself is amazing, but not really. He's really he's saying some amazing stuff. If you could just hear what he has to say right now. He's got the best words of all time. Let me go to my system preferences. Output multi. Okay. Output. Now the crazy thing is I can hear you on my deal. Multi-output device, that's right. Give me a sound check real quick. Go ahead and talk to me. Just keep counting. Keep on counting. Okay. There you go. There it is. All right. All right. There you go. Yep. All right. Now talk to me.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. Okay.
Perfect.
Cool. You can hear me. I can hear you. We got Robert Barrios here. Tyrus is here. So we got some people. So we should have a pretty interesting, decent show. The Zoom room is up. We're running fine. And then I can hear you. I can see you. So apologize for technical difficulties. We are 4 minutes in. Trying to be on time. Let me turn off my notifications here. Go to silent mode so I'm not disturbing. No, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to.
The only downside of doing it from a mobile device is I can't have the live feed pulled up. So if there's any pertinent comments from...
Oh, I got it. No, we're cool. I got the live feed pulled up over here. So, if we want to... I'll read anything that pops up. Right now, we don't have... we have a couple people tuning in and watching, but other than that, we don't have any comments from any of the 3 channels. I'm broadcasting live to my personal channel, but I'm also broadcasting to the DLF Live page, and then also broadcasting to DLF Greensboro, and then all the other groups that we frequent. And we talked about, I highly doubt that anybody from the other groups are going to pop up, and outside of the front, they're not going to pop up to give their input about anything, because I don't know. That's the crazy thing about this movement in regard to, just like the NC legislature and what went down, recently there. It's like, you have these people who have really adamant, strong views about how things should run and what, and what people need to do with their lives and whatnot. But then when it comes down to be open about it, be transparent, say, this is what I stand for, this is what I represent, and, be bold. But, they just don't. If it's not a meme or something that they can hide behind, they don't. Speaking of that, the legislature pulled a bullshit move here in North Carolina. What are your thoughts, Lee, about the increasing rise of brazen bullshit that we've been dealing with?
So with this last round of elections, they lost their ability to override a veto with their supermajority. They've maintained control of our state legislature for many years now. but when forced to compromise, they decided to come up with a plan to literally lie to the House Minority Leader and tell him there's going to be no votes
Yep.
on the morning of September 11th.
Yep.
And not only were all of the Republicans present, while Democrats were either working on other stuff for the legislature. We're, for those who don't know, going through the process of being forced to redraw our legislative district map because it's unconstitutionally gerrymandered.
Very much so.
So I believe several of the Democrats were participating in those endeavors. Some were at 9/11 memorial services across the state.
Yep.
And the 9 Democrats that were present, allegedly some of them even had their mics cut off so they could not vote even from the floor of the House.
Yep.
So that's where we're at right now. The budget still has to pass the Senate has to override the veto for this budget to go through. So it's not a lost cause yet because they don't have a veto-proof majority in the Senate. So I think the results of this recent special election in a heavily Republican district, a very narrow win by the Republican.
Yeah.
I think that signals how this next round of elections is going to go for them.
And who is it? The person who won in District 9. It's Dan. What's his last name?
Bishop, maybe.
Yeah, Dan Bishop. I believe. Yeah. Apparently, he was the one who wrote the he wrote the bathroom bill that caused so much bullshit and basically caused a lot of money to be pulled out of the state. He was one of the main orchestrators of that bill, from my understanding. And just like you said, yeah, it was a very, very narrow win. But then there was the one thing that was disturbing to me more than anything else was the what was it, 45% voter turnout? It was less than 50%, wasn't it?
It was very, very small. Yes.
Yeah. So, what do you... I
will say, for those who don't know about the bathroom bill or maybe not aware of its impact, here locally, Greensboro, we lost the ACC tournament.
Yep.
For college basketball.
We did.
We used to be tournament town. It drove a lot of revenue in the athletic tourism to everything that benefits from tourism. Hotels and restaurants and shops, and it also had a big impact on participation in the High Point furniture market, which is unknown to a lot of people the largest furniture market in the world. It sets the stage for furniture design for New York. A lot of the design firms are still based in New York, but they debut their designs for the season in High Point. People come from all over the world to do that, and a lot of companies withheld or did not participate as fully as they have in past years because of this controversial legislation.
We missed out on numerous film and television productions that basically said they weren't going to come here as well as a result of the bathroom bill. So there's a lot of, just like you said, there's a lot of money from a lot of different players that was lost because of what went down with this bathroom bill, and we still have this close election. What do you attribute to the low turnout that we saw in the election? For me personally, my belief is, it was an election that was held outside of normal election times. Most people are so focused on Trump and the general election that these special elections, and in my opinion, this election shouldn't even fucking happen. It should have just gone straight to the Democratic candidate as a punishment to the RNC's tactics. But yeah, people didn't know what was happening. That's my opinion. They didn't know what was happening. They didn't know the gravity.
There's always, when there's not a federal election, the presidency or Congress on the ballot, voter turnout typically is lower. And also, I think probably some disenfranchisement of the constituency probably has some play. I mean, if you are literally having to cast your ballot again for either the Democrat or a different Republican because the first one tried to cheat in the election, I mean, a lot of people are, just going to throw their hands up and say, what's the point?
And I mean, it's a no-brainer in all honesty in regard to, like, if you know what's going on. Like, I feel like one of the biggest issues that we have in regard to the slow moving coup of our democracy is that the lack of information. That's one of the main reasons why this group exists. It's one of the main reasons why we're trying to do this show. It's about informing people. The bathroom bill. The good thing about this is I'm at a computer now, and I have full access to all of the internet. But it's saying the bathroom bill cost North Carolina $3.76 billion. $3.76 billion. Like, I feel as a taxpayer and someone who wants to bring more revenue to the state, even if you have, like, this is not about socialism versus capitalism, but if you just care about the well-being of the state and you want to have revenue here, you would think that, voting for people who enact policies that cost $3.76 billion to your state is kind of asinine. But
that's works out, I believe, if my memory serves, to about an eighth of this total state budget.
PayPal, music concerts were lost. Like the NCAA, pulled out the ACC tournament that you talked about, like Lionsgate. So yeah, I mean it was a big debacle, a big mess. But basically, District 9 said yeah.
Especially the film industry was really. I mean, people were like, "Oh man, that was filmed in North Carolina." I didn't know that. Things like The Hunger Games was, I think, almost entirely filmed in Western North Carolina.
Yeah. I think
it's not small movies you haven't heard of that are coming out of people's college projects. These are major motion pictures.
Exactly.
That bring in tons of revenue while they're being filmed.
So, I mean, that's what we're talking about when we're talking about, like, losing our state to, basically authoritarian fascist policies. Because just like you mentioned earlier, we have an unconstitutionally gerrymandered state. That's what we're dealing with. And as a result, we have a legislature that's full of people who are elected via that unconstitutionally gerrymandered situation. So this step that was taken in regard to subverting democracy, this on 9/11 of all days, was done by a legislative body that was created using unconstitutional practices. And these individuals, instead of saying, you know what, maybe we should lay low, back down, not, engage in extreme policies or whatever, they're like, fuck it, we have the numbers, we have the ability, we need to try to, Hail Mary pass, steamroll our way through whatever we can get through, even though the federal courts have said we're unconstitutional, even though the state courts have said we're unconstitutional. We're just going to do more unconstitutional shit because, fuck it. We can get away with it.
In literally less than a day, we've seen this situation go from, this didn't happen, why weren't the Democrats there, they knew there was a vote, to, there wasn't supposed to be a vote, but they saw the Democrats gone, so they took advantage of it. I mean, this is... Usually, it would take a week for Trump to get there.
This one. One day, we had to change our story and we had to figure out what we were going to say. And yeah, we've agreed that we just don't care. and we're just going to do what we're going to do. So,
and I mean, they're basically victim blaming, saying, "Well, the Democrats should have known better. They let this happen."
that's what I keep on hearing. Oh, the Democrats were asleep at the wheel. Well, first of all, we're all in this car together, and this car is called democracy. So if the Democrats weren't there, and you just decide you're just going to yank the wheel to the right or whatever,
if I'm on a boat and I know that if I literally close my eyes for a second, Joe the Raper is going to try and rape me. I'm not going to be comfortable with Joe the Raper being allowed passage
on the boat. He shouldn't even be on the boat. He shouldn't be on the boat. It's not supposed to be a competition.
To further morph that analogy, if the captain says, "All right, we're going to put Joe the Raper in the brig so everyone can get some sleep," and then as soon as everyone's asleep, they let Joe out to rape everyone. It's not our fault for going to sleep that we got raped by the rapists.
You weren't paying attention. You weren't paying attention.
Out of the cage.
You weren't paying attention. If you'd been paying attention, you wouldn't have been raped. That's on you. I'm sorry. So next time, just guard your booty. Just guard your booty. So
right, they've taken victim blaming away from sexual assault apologists. I've never seen anything like this in my 32 years.
Oh, it's quite brazen. But they're not fascist, though. Bringing us to our points today. So, we're here. The 14 points of fascism. So, we'll start off at number 10. Contempt for the weak. Elitism is a typical aspect of any reactionary ideology. So, basically, how does that tie into what we've been observing in regard to our own legislature? So basically, it's might makes right. Strength is revered over anything else. If you weren't present for this vote today, you were weak for a second. So you deserved everything you got.
And to broaden that the point to general populace, raise your hand if you've been called a snowflake.
Yep, there you go. Yep. Snowflakes melt, right? Snowflakes deserve.
We've been trying to throw that back at them because it's projection. That's all it is.
Always.
Someone who's hiding behind a digital mask, calling you names from possibly their mother's basement.
Exactly.
Unconfirmed, because we don't know who they are. They could be a Russian bot who's getting paid to sit on the internet and pretend to be 20 different people a day. Mm-hmm. And the only job requirement was tech savvy and English speaking. We show our face both in our profiles and when we go live. We are who we are. You can come find us if you want. We can meet each other. We have had a meetup before with the DLF. Mm-hmm. We're not scared to come out in public and meet each other and share a meal, break bread. We don't have to hide.
Exchange.
We walk in the open. We walk with truth.
Exchange ideas. Exchange ideas. Talk. Relate. Connect. There's no reason for us to hide. We don't have. I can say fuck Trump all day long. I can say fascism is bullshit all day long. And no liability, no consequence. I can walk in the middle of Fifth Avenue and say that shit. But we don't get that. I like we were saying, leading up to the show today, it's like, I would love for some of these individuals to come on and say some of the brazen, bigoted, misogynistic, fascist, hateful stuff that they say, in these chat threads, online to our faces. We have a live chat stream right here, and the only people who comment on our posts, the only people who participate when it comes time to being live, are like-minded people. And so the thing is, if you truly believe that, if you truly believe that we are that weak, that we are snowflakes, that we, can be eliminated, as soon as the whistle blows for Civil War II, then, you should be bold enough to say that in the street. Wear it on your, wear it like you wear your MAGA hat to the Trump rally. I don't understand why. I think this is very, very hypocritical, in my opinion. Just very hypocritical.
And aside, on top of, in addition to Snowflake, how many times have you heard or had someone type, I bet you wouldn't say that if you were standing in front of me.
Exactly. I was like, no, well, yeah, I would say, why do I have to say it in front of you? I can say it right here, and then if you want to come and give me a rebuttal right here, you can come online and talk to us. Like, we're here. We're not hiding. You can find us anytime, anywhere. But, like you said, the only time they want to do that is when they want to call you out to some undisclosed location out in the boondocks somewhere where for sure you pop up and all of a sudden it's like, oh my god, he's got a gun, and then they can shoot you. I mean, it's the most obvious bait tactic ever, but I haven't heard anybody else. Oh shit, Justin Maslow. We have Justin Maslow with us right now, who's saying he bet he would. Now, I don't know what he's saying he bet he would. What would you do, Justin? I can see you right now. The floor is yours for you to type, because he's not here on video, for him to type what he wants. Now, if he wanted, Justin, I see you watching. Justin, if you want to come online and talk to us next Thursday, I will make it possible for you to come online in all your Justin Maslow glory and comment and say whatever you want to say to us live here. We can have that discussion. I want to talk to some of y'all. I want to talk to some of y'all in real life and not just in these, hidden chat rooms or whatever. But, that's just where we are. There's not a lot of people come out here. Let's go back here. So, content for the week. Everybody is educated to become a hero. So we talked about this last week, where we were talking a bit about the fascist fantasy of basically you're the one who's going to go out with your AR-15 to Walmart and let all of the illegals know where you stand via your act of violence. And this is reinforced, or this is encouraged by other fascists who are trying to tell you go out there, get the high score, do what you can to take as many lives as you possibly can. What's your take on that, Lee?
Another good way to apply this is the good guy with the gun argument.
Mm-hmm.
It's always brought up. The only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. This fantasy that you're going to be the one that the shooting starts at the supermarket, and you've got your concealed carry, and you stalk through the aisles, and you draw a bead on the shooter, and you take them down, and you're the hero, and everyone loves you, and women start throwing themselves at you, and money comes from nowhere, and the eagle, screeches and flies to the sky, and flags unfurl, and
the national anthem plays softly in the background.
And everyone kneeling gets shot by other good guys with guns,
and the saga continues. I mean, the same thing. The Giuliani post on 9/11. That was some creepy fascist shit. That was some very, very creepy fascist. So in the background, and I'll link that video after this thing is done. So in the background of this whole montage, where you see this little boy being indoctrinated to worshiping the flag. And some of it's legitimate stuff, like he's out there serving in the military. He becomes a cop, and then suddenly he's at a protest, and there's all of these what I suspect are Antifa members. Basically at this protest, and now he's this cop, and as the national anthem builds to a crescendo, he puts down his visor and takes out his baton, and he's ready to go kick ass in the name of America, and basically subdue these crazy Antifa members to protect his nation. That's I thought the NRA ad was some bad shit, like that Dana Lash video where, you know, we're talking about taking the spear of truth and using our guns. You know, this was a little bit more disturbing to me than that, because this was like, you know, a rallying call to every, you know, authoritarian cop that's out there that, yeah, you know, Giuliani at least, you know, has your back. And if Giuliani has your back, you know, Trump probably has your back, and the whole administration has your back, in regard to, you know, whatever police brutality. That's what we're talking about, romanticizing of police brutality. That's what was disturbing to me.
And you know, it ties into the cult of death. You know,
we talked about that.
The tree of liberty replenished with the blood of patriots. You know, that's always a big saying with these, you know, patriot hardos. And now it's not shedding their own blood. Potentially, they're going to go out and shed blood of anyone they deem un-American, and nothing's going to stop them. They're getting a rubber stamp from Trump and the boys. You know, brings a new meaning to crack open a cold one with the boys.
Exactly.
Grab your 30-inch collapsible baton and head to a protest rally and start cracking open heads of anyone you deem commie or un-American or socialist. And that's the real fascists.
And that's what I was going to go to. That's the inconsistency, because I mean that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to do this series on the 14, you know, points of fascism, because one of the things that we talked about in the earlier points of fascism was, you know, basically the nationalism aspect. What was it? That was point. That was basically the first one. The cult of tradition, and yeah. So point one, the cult of tradition. So focusing on basically this fake history that exists. Romanticizing a fake history, making America great again, referencing a time, you know, that, you know, is very romanticized, very idealistic for a narrow group of people, and wanting to go back, or telling people that we can go back to that time. And so if you're talking about that being true, if you're talking about nationalism, hyper-nationalism being a component of fascism, you can't turn around and hypocritically say, oh, well, you know, it's the left that are the fascists, but at the same time say it's the left that aren't Americans. Either they're Americans and are nationalists, which would enable you to stamp them with fascism, and you would also need all of the other 15 points, or all the other 13 points, or something's not lining up. You know, you can't have two nationalists at the same time who have some heritage they're trying to return to. The whole essence of being a progressive is we see where things are now. Things are bad in these areas, and we want to make things better. So we want to move forward. We're not trying to regress to some idealistic past, because we recognize things were more fucked up in the past than they are right now. In the past, women didn't have the right to vote. In the past, we had slavery. In the past, we were putting Japanese people in internment camps. In the past, we had the Trail of Tears. We're not trying to go back to that.
Right.
So where is that in regard, if you are objectively looking at what fascism is supposed to be, where does that align? And then it comes down to, oh, well, fascism is basically whatever we think it is, as, you know, as basically the caretakers of what it means to be an American. So we're patriots, you all are fascists, and this is the definition that we came up with, that we want you, that we're going to stamp you with. Because at least, one thing that I can say is at least they recognize fascism is bad. That's one thing that we still have. They recognize it's bad, and they recognize it's a label that needs to be attached to somebody, but they don't want to wear it.
Yeah, and I think the last point is really going to tie that together. A lot of these points are really, you know, it's not like a ladder or bullet points that are isolated from each other. It's a web.
True.
You know, all these tie in together and reinforce each other. And it's funny, all of these people who say, no, I'm not fascist, you're the fascist, you don't know what that means. None of them can discuss the 14 points of fascism.
None of them. What's the definition? How does it work? How does it apply? Like, I mean, it's like, what's a dog? Okay, all right, we know what a dog, we know what the dictionary definition of a dog is, but, there are some qualifiers that allow us to establish, this is a dog versus this is a wolf versus this is a bear. They're all canines, but they're not all dogs. And we can distinguish because we understand these discriminating points that help separate things, which is why it's good to go after them and say, okay, if you recognize fascism to be, these people, how do they apply in regard, what are you using? And so, yeah, you're right. The 14 points, it can't go over.
I mean, you can go and look at, that reminds me of a song from VeggieTales from when my kids were big on that. Talking about differentiating between monkeys and apes. If it has a tail, it's a monkey. If it doesn't have a tail, it's not a monkey, it's an ape.
True. True.
There's criteria that we can develop and use objectively to organize anything into groups.
Well, here's one thing. So Jakota and Justin are here, and Justin is saying that he's willing to go live. Do you think we should try to bring him on right now? Because I can give him the key to the room so we can get in. What do you think? I'm kind of curious.
Hey, we're open to all voices.
Okay, all right. Let me see if I can bring him in. Well, I'll go ahead and send him the link real quick, and we'll see what happens here. He may come in and just bring some craziness. If not, the good thing about Zoom is I can kick him out. So that's the beautiful thing. As a matter of fact, I got to do it here because
you want me to go ahead and open up the number 12?
Yeah, well, I have number 12 here, so I'll pull it up real quick. And you can start talking about it while we are on it. 12, machismo and weaponry. Machismo implies both disdain for women and intolerance and condemnation of non-standard sexual habits from chastity to homosexuality. So yeah, you can run with that shit. I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing for him while you talk.
So, I'm sure a lot of you have seen that one crazy church where people were wearing crowns and white garments and praising their AR-15s. Mm-hmm. That about sums it up in one go. This love of weaponry as an identity. I love shooting guns. I think they're fascinating as an engineering aspect. The things that we've accomplished since the first gun was created as an engineering aspect of it. And as a soldier, I'm very comfortable with weaponry. And I definitely enjoy going to a range and putting some rounds down range. But it's not who I am. I don't need to have a gun nearby at all times to define me.
True. And that's where
I also don't need to tell someone how they have to live their life in the bedroom to make myself comfortable.
Exactly. And then Justin just said he's not going to go live. He won't go live. He's here in the chat, but he's watching. So I respect. He is here. He's in the room, but he's just not going to go live. But yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, it's like there was this misconception that leftists are all anti-gun and flower power children walking around with dildos, but that's not. That's not where, a good majority of us, even within the group, like you, PJ, gun owners and everything, it's not a matter of defining you, it's a matter of protection. Guns exist. We recognize bad people have guns. We recognize there are fascists with guns. So, the number of gun owners on the left has gone up significantly. Gun ownership is going up across the board. And people who, may not have had guns before. I know women who are concealed carrying. So it's not even a situation where, gun ownership is a left or a right wing thing. It's more so, why do you have the gun? What is that all about? Do you have the gun because you feel like, you at any point, the green light's going to be given and you can, slay as many libs as you want to because they have viewpoints that are offending to you? Or basically, is it for home defense? I think the ideology behind gun ownership differs in regard to, the left and the right. And it's very, very distinctive, and being linked on the right to patriotism, to preparation for impending conflict, to fear, to violence. And then on the left, it's not so much a patriot thing. It's more so like, a practical thing, in my opinion.
Right. And I think at its core, you cannot separate the idea of America from an armed populace.
Exactly.
From our very beginning, it was because we had armed and trained citizens that we were able to form a standing army and militia groups, and were able to take on a global imperialistic superpower and chase them off the continent.
Exactly.
Of course, we had some help with the French, with supplies and and naval support.
And even Native Americans, ironically.
It was the boots on the ground that were armed and prepared that really won the day. And our founding fathers knew that governments weren't perfect, and there may come a day where we as Americans might have to hit the reset button and start over, convene a new constitutional convention, and start from scratch.
Yep.
They laid the framework, they got us going, but I don't think we're there yet. But that's not completely out of the question.
And I think they say we have the multiple, we have 4 boxes, was it 4 boxes of liberty, the soap box, the ballot box, and the ammo box. Was it 3 or 4? It's the soap box. How's that saying go? The 4 boxes.
Sure.
There's the ballot.
Go to the Google.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to go Google this. I'm gonna find the boxes of liberty. Boxes of liberty. See, this is what you do when you don't know shit. You look it up. That's all you have to do. 4 boxes of liberty.
Probably gonna find some religious group selling emergency rations and totes.
True. So yeah, you have, here we go. The soap box, the ballot box, the jury box, and the ammo box. Those are the 4 ones. They're supposed to be used in that order. So basically, when the law has failed, whenever talking has failed, whenever electing people has failed, that's whenever the ammo is supposed to come out. And that's basically how the government is supposed to be afraid of the people. People are not supposed to be afraid of their government. However, what we have now is a bunch of people who are willing to, tread on, or allow the government to tread on them, and infringe upon their rights, as long as the last name is Trump, and some child.
The Gadsden flag has gone from "Don't tread on me" to "Tread harder, Daddy."
Yep.
For a lot of these guys, there's a comic I've seen a few times that say how Republicans are going to react to red flag laws, and there's a guy in handcuffs on the hood of a car saying, "I back the blue," being arrested.
Well, I mean, and I guess that's what comes down to it too, is, whenever you're talking about us being prepared as far as fascism is concerned, when you're talking about, us going against the state, one of the biggest things that's a problem when it comes to dealing with fascism is the state and the leader are one. So whenever you don't have a differential or a separation between the leadership and the state, then basically turning against the state is turning against the leader is turning against the state. So there's no way for you to successfully have any kind of resistance if you have fascist leadership. And I think this is one thing that I think the tyranny of a king was one thing that they were thinking about whenever the founding fathers drafted the Constitution, but they weren't thinking about what if our entire democracy is taken over by a fascist entity. Fascism wasn't a thing.
The founding fathers were very much against the idea of political parties for just the reasons that we're in today, where we've got people putting party and office over country.
Exactly.
But you've also see that false equivalency in any sort of criticism of the Israeli government being viewed as anti-Semitism. Saying, hey, maybe you shouldn't have snipers shooting Palestinian kids in the legs, not to kill but to wound, is not saying, Hitler should have won.
I don't know. So, what, Justin, maybe later on Justin will get on, next time or whatever, saying
he's toes in the water and he stuck with us, so I applaud him on
that.
I
applaud you. Oh, Justin, respect, Justin. I was hoping for a little, scuffle in the streets or whatever, but it's all good. The fact that you were paying attention, you're part of the dialogue is great. Voice your opinions. That's another thing too. It's like there are some areas where we can align. We are not completely divided as a country yet. It's more so, about actually having these discussions and I'm willing to go into the streets and scrap it up and be like, yeah, I'm going to stand by my convictions, and you should be able to stand by yours. And basically, your convictions should be able to survive, a rigorous debate. And so, I don't know, if you want to go low, we can go low. It's not going to be very productive. You're going to call me a libtard, I'm going to call you a fascist, and we can go back and forth like that for 3 hours. Or, you can basically lay out some salient points that can be discussed, and we can move forward and evolve in ideas. It's not about winning for a side. It's more so about finding the truth in the middle that might exist that we can utilize to move forward and base our decisions on facts, on reality, on things that are established, as opposed to rhetoric that's fed to us via talking points, whether it be from Nancy Pelosi or Donald Trump. I don't agree with everything that the Democrats do. I don't agree with everybody who calls themselves a leftist. Just like I don't agree with everybody who calls themselves, a right-winger, or disagree with everything disagree with, all right-wingers, because, I recognize, like I said, guns exist. I'm not trying to get rid of guns. I don't think guns need to disappear. It would really, really suck if all the guns disappeared and China was like, or North Korea was like, now's a great time for an invasion. What are we going to do?
Yeah, that was one of the big famous quotes out of World War II. Was it the Emperor of Japan said that in America, and every blade of grass is someone with a gun.
Exactly. It's a great deterrent.
Our heavily armed populace.
It's a great deterrent. Which means that if we have all the
where citizens.
So what?
Where citizens aren't allowed to own guns, you don't have to worry about non-uniformed people bursting out of houses and lighting you up with AR-15s while you're hunting down enemy combatants.
And on top of that, too, it also creates a more war-ready populace. Whenever, people talk about gun control, people talk about the video games, people talk about violence in regard to our films and whatnot, and in our music. And we can argue about the benefits of that and artistic expression. But at the same time, I do feel like that might be one of the few silver linings to the cloud of violence that is part of American culture, is the fact that we're very, very war ready. We are ready to blow some shit up.
We are warriors at heart.
Exactly.
We created our country out of the vacuum of bloodshed of the Revolutionary War. And I will tell you from direct experience, being in a place where you didn't have to worry about so much pistols and stuff like that. And in Iraq, people every household was allowed to own a AK-47, and I'm not talking about the civilian models we have here, fully automatic Soviet era or Chinese models. These were the same weapons that Iraqi soldiers were carrying, and that's what they used for home defense. So, I mean, it's literally everyone in Iraq could potentially have been someone trying to kill us at any given time. But we still went in and gave them a lot more than they gave us.
We did. I guess like the biggest issue that I have isn't so much with the proliferation of guns, because guns exist, like you said, all over the world. And so, whenever you are dropped into a foreign, territory for whatever purposes, and you're going to have to encounter that at some point, you're already. I mean, you may not have. I mean, if you're a soldier, you should have gone through proper training and whatnot in order to deal with to ready yourself for combat. But even if whenever we encounter a gun, whenever we see a gun in real life or whatever, we know what it looks like, we know what they sound like. You may not like them, but you're familiar with what a gun can do, how to deal with it in some capacity, as a result of our American gun culture. I feel like that's one of the benefits. Guns exist. We know how to deal with them to a certain extent. Now, children dealing with them, that's a whole other argument, and mental health and who should have access to them, that's where I feel where, we have the problems. It's not so much the existence of the guns, it's basically how we address the utilization of them or the implementation of them in our society as a result of a bunch of other mitigating factors. You have poverty, you have guns, you're going to have gun violence. You have mental health, you have guns, you're going to have gun violence. You have, lax gun laws, you have guns, you're going to have a lot of gun violence. So this is the problem. It's not so much the guns themselves, it's basically all of these things in between the guns and the gun violence that are causing the issues, and that's where we don't want to talk, because basically those people who are selling the guns don't want individuals, they want more guns to be sold, and having more fear in the society leads to, surprise, more people buying guns and training for guns and keeping guns and hoarding guns and selling guns illegally.
And we have this it's sociology 101. Increase competition over increasingly scarce resources is going to lead to violent crime.
Exactly.
This isn't like scratching our heads wondering, why are these huge cities where people can't find jobs that pay more than $10 an hour and are full-time, why are they so full of crime? Because people are going to feed themselves, they're going to feed their families.
And so, if people are at the bottom, they're going to fight. They're going to use whatever means they can to get what they need to take care of themselves at the bottom. That's just how it is.
Right.
We got about 10 minutes. We got two more. So, 13. Selective populism. There is in our future a TV or internet populism in which the emotional response of a selected group of citizens can be presented and accepted as the voice of the people. We're here. That's where we are right now.
Present, right now with Trump supporters, someone on one of the pages said that they outnumber us 100-1. Obviously, that's not even close to being accurate. They're smaller as a demographic than Democrats, according to Gallup polls, and both of those groups are smaller by far than independents. So they have nowhere close to a mandate of the people to rule. They don't have a majority, and they'll bring up, he has a 80 or whatever percent approval rating among Republicans. It's like, yeah, of course. And fans of Michael Jordan love Michael Jordan.
Exactly. They'll ever talk about
breaking news.
They'll ever talk about the dwindling numbers of the Republican Party. I mean, of course, you're gonna have. If I put a bunch of shit into a pot with water and I boil the water off, what I'm going to have left in that pot? A bunch of shit. And so that's basically what you're looking at in regard to these concentrated, like whenever they quote Republican support, you're looking at concentrated numbers because you have more people who have walked away from the party, and that's left behind the most dedicated individuals. So of course you're going to have 80%, 90% support of Trump at that point,
You've got
because
these extreme hardos who are quote unquote culling the herd.
Exactly.
They're cutting the weakness from their own support, and those guys aren't sticking around. They're say they might not change parties, but they're definitely not going to be ready to throw in their support of just anyone that has an R beside their name.
They're after the people who are with their guy. That means it's the Tea Party. It's the Tea Party. It's a concentrated Tea Party. It's a concentrated tea.
Yeah, I've also noticed an almost inverse of this point. Trying to say that the most extremist of the left speak for the left.
Yeah.
Hardly any of the left want open borders.
Yeah.
In fact, more libertarians would support open borders than Democrats.
Exactly.
In the true sense of the definition of an open border. We just don't want to spend billions of dollars on a wall that's going to have unforeseen environmental impacts. It's not going to work to do what they claim it's going to do.
It's not sustainable.
We just want money to be spent efficiently, which used to be what the party of fiscal
Responsibility
conservatism was all about.
Exactly.
So now they force us to do their job by the person.
Yeah, I mean that was the whole point of they call themselves the conservatives, but they aren't conservative in any shape, form, or fashion because of the fact that they're willing to basically waste tons of money on these projects that are not sustainable. They're just going to be drains. And here we are sitting on the verge of another recession. Same thing with the tariff war that we're supposed to be winning. We can't sustain that indefinitely. China has a greater reach than us globally. They have infrastructure that they've built up, not just in China, but throughout the world, through all these other projects they're doing, deals they're making in regard to actual diplomacy. While we're closing our doors, they're opening theirs wider. So basically, as far as being able to negotiate with these other countries, they have much better footing to do so because they have leverage. They have projects. They're working with these other countries. So these countries have an incentive to give them opportunity, to cut them deals. They have no incentive to do that with America right now. But the only people who are benefiting off of that are, China, Russia. Those are the people that we are basically giving our economy over to, which is on a silver platter.
Yeah, and this whole concept of #winning, we're going to get tired of winning so much. As bits of that veil are pierced and people are able to see the man behind the curtain, so to say, that support is going to keep dropping off in increasing fashion. So it's really, like I said before the show started, this move in the NC GOP in the House was, to me, that signifies the death rattle of the GOP.
Yeah.
When a living organism is nearing the end, its body stops fighting.
Yep.
And people will have a really good day where it's like, oh, they were more alert, they had energy, they were able to sit up and talk.
Yep.
And then the next day they're gone.
Yeah.
Because the body's like, what, done. Just do what you do.
It's the Hail Mary pass. It's all
or nothing. They see the writing on the wall, and they know that they're not going to fare well in this next election. And if they lose any more ground, especially with the redistricting, if that's able to go through, it's going to be ugly for them.
Justin says, in California, our sales tax is more than Chinese tariffs, plus ridiculous gas tax that distributes those products. So, I mean, What are your thoughts on that? I mean, I think he might be alluding to like the tyranny of the state. That might be what he's trying to talk about.
So basically, the way the states were set up were to be, different laboratories for taking the space that's not reserved for the federal government and seeing what works best. So, like they tell us all the time, if you don't like it, you can leave, or you can work to change from within.
Yeah.
There's nothing holding that to you, and if it truly doesn't work, what California is doing in essence is trying to do what the federal government should be doing. They're trying to stand in the gap. Mm-hmm. And it just goes to show how the largest single state economy is able to do that and not completely collapse like we've seen in a lot of South American countries, some Central European countries.
California has one of the biggest economies in the world, doesn't it? As far as, yeah. We got 3 minutes. I want to try to get to this last one. The last one, 14. Fascism speaks newspeak. All the Nazi or fascist school books made use of an impoverished vocabulary and an elementary syntax in order to limit the instruments for complex and critical reasoning. So here we go back to anti-intellectualism. Here we go back to, basically distorting, war is peace, love is hate, up is down, left is right, wet is dry, this inversion of reality and distortion for, to muddy the waters.
What you were talking about with, they're calling us fascist while claiming to be nationalist, can't logically exist at the same time. It can if you oversimplify things and ignore reality. Because to them, it doesn't get any deeper than that. That logic level doesn't exist, so they're able to reconcile that in their mind and put it in a meme and fire it off and get results.
True, and so basically and it's projection. You were talking about them referencing the extreme left in regard to why in order to justify or validate their perspective, their views. The left wants open borders, so we have to stand in the gap to protect the borders because the left isn't doing that. When the left isn't saying that at all, you're basically creating that boogeyman, you're creating that straw man, you're creating that invisible opponent in order for you to go out there and justify your uber patriotism and defend the borders, defend this country by getting rid of what you perceive to be the subversive element that are the real fascists that are basically undermining the ability for America to be protected. The left don't care about America. It's only the extreme right that really cares about America. It's the inversion.
And the sweet, delicious irony is these state senators who claim to be the party that supports the troops are now having to tell their constituents why, in the case of North Carolina, $80 million that was going to be going towards infrastructure improvements in military bases in North Carolina, building new schools for military families, is now going to build this ridiculous wall.
Yanked for the wall. And Justin here, and Justin is talking about it now too. I mean, he's not talking. He's obviously not in our discussion because he didn't want to come online. But he's talking his shit from the chat, and in the chat, he's regurgitating that same fascist bullshit. Fascists were again socialism, and they were Germany's Communist Party. Once again, the half truth creating the whole lie. Yes. Nazis called themselves socialists, but we recognize that they did that because socialism was popular in Germany following World War I. Basically, individuals had to work together because they were dealing with these punitive regulations that were placed upon the entire country as a result of what went down in World War I and losing World War I. When you lose, You end up having to adjust your whole freaking society to pay the world back for what was done. And so as a result, socialism...
That sounds like populism.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Is the point of fascism.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. So basically, you got populists who said, "Hey, we're tired of paying paying back for this loss. We're tired of dealing with the just desserts of our failure in World War I, and basically we need to find a scapegoat. And what do you have? Immigrants. And what do you have? The Jews. And so that's what you started seeing. Let's use the Jews as the scapegoat.
Frustrations, an appeal to tradition.
Exactly. And so, logically, Justin, if you were going to be a socialist party, and you were truly socialist, whenever you became basically the ruling party of the country, do you think you would basically expand your numbers as much as you possibly could by incorporating more socialists in your party? I would do that if I was a socialist and I was trying to advance my viewpoints. If I was a true socialist, but what you saw, what did the Nazis do whenever they took power in their National Socialist Party? They killed fucking socialists. So why are you killing socialists if you are socialist? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, what did that how that old saying go? They came for the trade unionists, and I wasn't a trade unionist, so I didn't care. And goes to list off every group that person was not a member of until they were the only ones left.
Exactly. And so you have Nazis killing, like you're saying, you have Nazis killing members of trade unions. Oh, yeah, and then we're killing disabled people. Oh, yeah, and then we're killing minorities. Oh, yes, and then we're killing homosexuals. What fucking socialist movement is killing members of its own movement? Like there were no gay socialists. There were no mentally impaired socialists. There were no people born with disabilities who were socialists. So whenever you're talking about actual socialism, it makes no damn sense. If you're talking, it's just the label that the Nazis used to gain popularity. They went in and they took over a party, and then they injected their own capitalist populist views in regard to the execution, literally, of what they were doing that led up to the quote-unquote final solution. So if you're talking about socialism, it's not just about one narrow section that you are giving rights and honoring the existence of. If you're talking about true socialism, they are caring about, I don't know, socialism, social society. Everybody in the society. Not just a narrow group of people, everybody in the society. So this bullshit idea that Nazis were socialists needs to fucking stop. It just needs to stop, Justin. It just needs to stop. Because it's not socialist. That's not socialist. If you call a duck a dog, that duck is no longer a dog because you call it that. Calling something a name does not make it that. It doesn't.
Right, exactly. And that also goes back into the 14th point.
Exactly.
If you can dumb down the revisionist and simplify it enough, you can pass it off as valid. True.
All right, Justin. Well, thanks for coming on. I know you didn't agree with everything that we said today, and it's okay. It's all right. I'll see you in the chats, and I'm pretty sure everybody's going to brigade this later on and leave their comments and whatnot. From the dark, from the shadows. But I do commend you for at least coming on and talking to us today. We've gone over about 5 minutes, but it's okay because we're not on live television, so I can actually run as long as I want. But for the sake of time and conservation, we're gonna go ahead and cut it short. But thanks, Lee, for coming on again. Show is going great and it's continuing to grow. The movement continues to grow. So I'll talk to you later. See you later on, brother.
All right.
All right. Peace.